I spent over $11 million on Facebook ads and scaled brands to 7 and 8 and 9 figures. And in this video, I will answer the most common questions I get on my Twitter, on my YouTube, and from the brands I work with. So question number one, and I get this a lot, is it still worth running split tests after Andromeda? And how do you structure your tests with Andromeda? So I see that many people in the space actually misunderstand what Andromeda means and what it does. Many people just think, oh, okay, now split tests don't make any sense anymore. So let's just drop all the ads we have randomly into one ad set, and Facebook will just determine what really will perform the best and allocate budget accordingly. Now, this is actually a really big step back, because if you do this, you have no split test at all. You have no hypothesis that you test. You just do random things, and if you're lucky, it works. But if you don't have luck, you don't have really a direction where you want to take it into, and you never really know what to test next. You're just kind of looking, okay, like, does this work? Does this not work? Should I just double down on what's working? Of course, that's obvious, but that's not a proper creative strategy. So the short answer is no, it does not make sense to stop split testing. You should definitely always split test. But let's cover quickly how to actually split test. Now, before Andromeda, people would often just split test a different headline or even different wording on their ads. For example, they could have the same static image ad, but they would have a headline that says, get rid of drain flies for good. And then the next headline could say, kills drain flies in 3 days. And then the third headline also something along that way with the same visual, basically the same static ad, just slightly different wording. Now, it's true that this kind of split test is kind of dead with Andromeda, because Andromeda really wants creative diversity, and if you just kind of change the wording, it really has almost no impact at all. But what you want to do is not abolishing split tests completely, but just spreading them broader. So for example, if you would usually have just 3 different headlines, you want to make it more different than just 3 different headlines. I've posted actually a really good graphic on this on Twitter. I will show it here. By the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter yet, do that. I post there my new strategies and learnings way faster than on YouTube. But anyway, this graphic basically shows you the hierarchy of split tests and what you can split test. The most important thing is always the desire. After that, it's the persona, then angles, visuals, and text, and so on. So now if you want to split test, you don't want to just have different texts on it, but let's say test 3 different desires. You can still have the same kind of ad type. Let's say you run this with a lifestyle image plus headline, very clean, very easy. But then you want to have the 3 headlines actually address different desires. So if we sell, let's say, a testosterone supplement, it could be appealing to self-improvement, it could be appealing to attracting the other sex, or it could be appealing to health and longevity. You see, those 3 headlines are fundamentally targeting 3 different desires. And then you want to pick visuals that are not the same, but really align with each headline. So obviously the visual that goes with the headline that is targeting the desire of attracting the opposite sex would be very different to the visual that is just about health and longevity. You just want to pick visuals that really suit the headline. And this way you have enough diversity there for Andromeda to actually not crash your ad account, but at the same time you have a very valuable split test, because based on where the ad spend goes in between those variations, you will see that, hey, like, sexual performance is the main desire, or hey, self-improvement is the main desire. And then once you have your main winning desire, you can just go down the hierarchy and test different personas for that desire. Again, in the same split testing format, you can test different visuals for that desire, different text headlines, and so on. So this is how I split test now since Andromeda, actually even a bit before Andromeda already. So the brands that work for me never really got that Andromeda dip, because Facebook already pushed quite a while on broader split tests, and now they just kind of forced everyone with this update. Now, question number 2. Do you recommend one campaign per product per country, or all in one CBO? What campaign structure do you run? Very good question. So actually also some people wonder, how did it change since Andromeda? Quick answer, not much. Generally speaking, I run one broad/Advantage Plus targeting CBO per country, per product category. So if you sell, for example, apples and oranges, you can't really mix them in one campaign, right? They are quite different. The split tests and the learnings from that would be kind of random. So that's why I run one CBO per product. And then apart from that, I also run a promo campaign, because of course, when we have a promo like Black Friday or like Valentine's Day sale or Mother's Day sale or whatever, and all the other things that will be coming up, then we want to separate the ad budget between evergreen and promo so that we can properly spend on the promo. But that's the 2 main campaigns I run. And then sometimes on some accounts, it makes sense to run retargeting campaign, actually a manual retargeting campaign. I know that it is kind of outdated and that Facebook does the retargeting in the broad CBO anyway, But for some accounts where the frequency is low, it actually makes sense and gets them additional sales. So if your account frequency is overall low, let's say lower than 2 for the last 30 days, I would definitely run an additional retargeting campaign and see how that goes. Now, question number 3, how many ads should I test per week? Very good question. So especially now with all the AI tools that essentially solve the volume problem, many people just start spamming AI slop in their ad accounts. And it's becoming very easy to post a high volume of ads. Now the question is, how many ads should we test per week? Well, I always say to that, as many as you can, as long as you don't reduce time and quality invested into one ad batch. So in one ad batch we have 3 different split testing variants, just as I explained about the Andromeda update question. And when we work with brands, we usually test 2 up to 5 or 6 such batches per week. So it of course depends on your scale, on your ad budget, and how much you can invest without losing quality. But in general, if you are in that range of testing, how fast you will scale really just depends on the quality of your ads, because I see many accounts that post like hundreds of ads every single month and they kind of struggle to scale. And then I see brands and help brands to scale to 8 figures with just 2 or 3 tests per week. So in general, as long as you can keep the quality and a hit rate of at least like 20% is what I recommend, increase volume. But if you are below that, decrease volume and make sure that you actually learn more in depth about creative strategy and how to create strong winning ads. And a thoughtful, high intent ad will generate you way more than 10 mediocre ads. Now, question number 4, what ad dimensions do you use to run ads? So very simple one. When it comes to static ads, they get displayed in 1:1, 4:5 and 9:16 on Instagram and Facebook. So what I do is I just prepare all the ads in 9:16, and at the same time I make sure that all relevant copy and all relevant visuals are in a 1:1 save zone in the middle, in the center of the ad. So you can post this ad for all placements, and then when it goes to a 4:5 placement or to a 1:1 placement, it just cuts the ad off at the top and at the bottom. But because you paid attention that everything important is in the center, it stays there, and this way you don't need to make the same ad for all the placements, but it just gets cut off and it goes for all placements. When it comes to videos, it's also very simple. They get posted mainly in 4:5 and 9:16. So again, we prepare everything 9:16 and then have the captions in the 4:5 save zone in the middle and also all important visuals in the middle. Now, question number 5, how much do you spend on an ad to conclude if it's a winner or a loser? Very good question. Many people overspend, some people don't spend enough. In general, if you run in a CBO, you want to give the ad 3 up to 7 days time, and either it will suck up a lot of ad spend and perform, then it's a winner of course, or it will spend a lot but on low performance, then it's a loser. But usually you can turn it into a winner because the ad spend going there indicates that this ad has scalability and resonates with people. You just need to find how to make people more ready to buy within that ad. Then it might get low ad spend and good performance. In this case, this ad is most likely not scalable but still appeals to a small audience. It's like a small winner. And then of course, actually the most common case, it doesn't get much ad spend and doesn't really get any purchases, then it's a loser, and you want to analyze it and understand why it did not perform, or like make a hypothesis around why it did not perform and do better in your next test. By the way, here's also a graphic that explains this very well. I also posted this on Twitter, so if you're following me, you maybe already saw that. Now, if you tested an ABO, which by the way I don't recommend, but if you do that, it's even easier to understand. In that case, you just look at what customer acquisition cost you want to have. For example, $50, then you just spend 2 to 3 times of your customer acquisition cost that you desire. So $10 to $150. Ideally, with a time range of 3 to 5 days, you can calculate how much budget you need to spend per day to actually achieve this. And then after those days and this ad budget, you just want to conclude what to do with this ad. Very straightforward, very simple. Alright, then question number 6, what do you do against rising CPMs? Very good question, very time relevant as well, because every single year the Facebook ad space is getting more competitive. More people are joining the space. Advertising becomes more expensive and only the best ad creative can win. So the easy and fast answer is just making better ads with clear creative strategy that most advertisers still lack. And if you do that, you are ahead of the curve, and then you can outperform them regardless of higher CPMs. But there are also some strategies you can use to decrease CPMs a bit. Would be too long to cover in this video, but I will link a video below that explains how to deal with rising CPMs. And then question number 7, how can it be that some barely profitable ads are considered most important for the funnel? This question is a question I got under one of my videos where I talked about how a top spending low ROAS ad can be still one of your best ads. So in case there's any confusion around that, let me quickly resolve that. Basically, the way Facebook attribution works is that if someone clicks on your ad and then converts, this is counted as a sale from that given ad that was last clicked. And the most important thing here is last clicked. So if someone saw a cold top of funnel ad that is mainly to get people into your funnel and they did not buy, this ad does not get the attribution. And then if you have a retargeting ad that is very simple and straightforward and people click on it and buy, this ad gets the attribution. Now the important part here is that most people would not buy from the retargeting ad. Obviously the retargeting ad only makes sense once they saw your cold top of funnel ad. So the cold top of funnel ad, even if it doesn't get many clicks or even if it doesn't get a high ROAS, it lifts up the entire account and the overall ad account performance and helps convert all those other ads that spend less. If you're running an SEO, it helps them to convert at a better ROAS. So sometimes it can happen that you turn off like this big spend loser, which is actually supporting your entire account, and then you see just the whole account drop and you wonder why, because all those ads that were in position number 2, 3 and 4 in terms of spend, they maybe had better ROAS, but after you turn off this top spender, the account might just deep dive, and if that happens, this is exactly what happened. The ad you just turned off was actually feeding the entire funnel, even though not converting on the first view. It was getting people interested, getting people to know your brand, and then on the retargeting ads they actually clicked on it and converted. By the way, if you're looking to scale your brand big in 2026, this is exactly what I help brands to do with creative strategy, with funnel strategy, and with ad account strategy. If you're interested in that, click the first link in the description, and on that website you can schedule a call with me to discuss how I can help you scale your brand. Keep scaling. Bye.